Welcome to DevSecOps, the good, the bad, the ugly. This videocast series is about all things DevOps, but often place an emphasis on security. Be sure to connect to the LinkedIn channel that we created so where you can collaborate with other peers on the topic of DevOps or DevSecOps. Today I have my friend Melodie. Melodie is an AppSec engineer that we met at, what event was that in Raleigh?
We met at All Things Open. That's right.
Yeah. Yes. So remember, we met at All Things Open. So appreciate you being willing to come on. Melodie, can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so my name is Melodie Moorefield-Wilson. I'm an application security engineer at Pendo.io, which is a software startup in Raleigh, North Carolina in the United States. My background is really in a highly regulated space. I started out at a fintech startup doing all kinds of regulatory work from the software side for SOC certification. I worked in biotech and healthcare in really strong clinical labs. Yep. So from a software perspective, have a lot of really great experience in kind of following clinical regulations, which gave me kind of a segue into application security because there's a lot of background and transference there. So was really starting to get interested in how, as a developer, I could make more secure code. A lot of the more traditional security organizations that I've interacted with kind of had an us or them type of attitude, which I really didn't care for. So one of the things that kind of drew me to application security was, how can I bridge that gap? How can I help make software developers want to come talk to security folks and make their software more secure instead of kind of creating an iron wall between the two of us? So that's how I got started in application security and am Pendo's kind of lead application security engineer. So really enjoying it.
No, that's great. And I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head of really what I think CISOs, right? When I go to some of these events, when they talk about hiring AppSec engineers, most of them are looking for somebody that's an engineer that has a passion for exactly what you talked about, because I think that's a major challenge. So what should we talk about today?
So to kind of go in that vein of why I started in application security, I think it would be smart to talk about the types of things we do, not only at Pendo, but other places, to kind of create a collaborative effort between the security team and the software development groups. So at Pendo, I am part of the engineering organization, so we're all in one place, which actually makes it really great. We collaborate with software engineers all the time. We have really great relationships. And my primary goal is to set up a situation where we're reporting any potential security alerts directly to developers. Mm-hmm. So instead of, you know, maybe running scans right after production or right when something's about to deploy, we're constantly trying to shift left and help them address issues long before it ever gets to, you know, blocking a deploy.
Yeah, I guess one question that came to mind, what about culturally, right? Like you said, one of your passions is to make sure developers aren't, you know, seeing security as a blocker. What are ways that that you're seeking to I guess, break down that silo?
So one of the things that we do quite a bit is we have several different ways that we encourage our development teams to interact with us. As many of us are probably on Slack, we have a couple of channels that are not only informational, so we provide, you know, articles or trainings that they can kind of peruse at their discretion. We also have a team channel that people can ask open-ended questions anytime they like about anything that kind of comes up that they want to have addressed. And we also launched a security champions program.
Okay.
So we've invited not only engineering core members, but also folks from our customer success and tech success to give them an opportunity and a conduit to interact with us and maybe provide opportunities for us to continue training from a security perspective. But also just to ask questions if they may not be comfortable asking their manager or their teammates, they get that chance. And the goal is for them to take that additional education to their teams and distribute that evenly. And it's been really successful. We really enjoy doing that. It gives us a great opportunity to continue to expand our reach as a security team, and also just to continue to drive home the fact that we're here to help. We're here to provide assistance. We're not here to judge if you don't know something.
Right.
We're really here as a support for the entire organization.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot, that, at least you don't need everybody to be a security expert, but at least you want to have somebody on each team to know about security. So another question, Melody, in regards to the software development lifecycle, can you talk about what you guys are doing directly within that to communicate to the developers with feedback?
Yeah, absolutely. So we already have a pretty established CI/CD pipeline in place.
Yep.
So the goal is not to reinvent the wheel and provide more process. It's not helpful. So we've found tools that we've incorporated into that already established CI/CD pipeline that reports to the development team and to our operations team and to ourselves, the security team, so that we can continue to prevent the slowdown of the deploy process.
Right.
It's been really effective, and we're going to continue to hone that in. And it's actually been really well received by our development team and operations, especially because we're concerned about speed and efficiency, and it doesn't add any additional time to that deploy process.
So I guess one question that comes to my mind, Melody, is how important have you guys seen it to make sure the development's buying off on, your plans for the software development lifecycle, right? Because that's the world that they live in.
So one of the things that we've done a really good job of is kind of getting, I wouldn't call them tiger teams, but kind of a beta group together of back-end or front-end engineers, depending on what the workflow is going to be, and ask them to test those tools out before we ever roll it out to deployment. The reason being is, number one, it has to be effective for them. We're not interested in making their job any harder than it is, because their job is quite challenging. Especially because we're in a kind of high performance area. They have deadlines and customer commits, and we don't want to get in the way of that.
So 2 questions that I'm starting to create for the video cast series to go along with the theme is, maybe what was one thing that that was successful, right? Since you've come on as the AppSec engineer from the development, maybe you just weren't right. It was new to you. What was something that you found to be successful? I'll start there.
Sure. So I have found that any tool that we can provide that that reports to developers as soon as possible in the software development lifecycle is the best way to go about being successful. The reason being is, typically software engineers are expecting to have to do some sort of unit testing. They're expecting to have to go through some sort of QA already. So if we can capture them right before they're ready to merge their code or put that into a production environment, and give them an opportunity to mitigate those challenges before it ever gets into QA and before it ever deploys to production, then not only do we save a whole lot of time, we save actual money since we're a cloud-based company, and we reduce the frustration for developers for having to basically start from scratch.
Yeah, that's great. And then I guess the following question to that would be, like, maybe what was something, a challenge that you experienced, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so one of the challenges that you always have as a new person, a new security person, when you start interacting with an established workflow is getting buy-in for changes, right? So, when you decide to make a sales pitch, so to speak, on making changes to something that from everyone else's perspective is working just fine, you have to provide an opportunity to show those stakeholders what the value add is for that.
Right.
So obviously when a security engineer first comes in, no one wants to hear, well, there may be opportunities for growth from a security perspective. So we have to kind of show instead of tell, and say, there's always room to continue to harden our software. There's always room for us to grow. There's always room for us to make it a little bit better.
Yep. That's great. That's great. Thanks so much, Melody, for being willing to come on. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you very much.